Brought to you by Helene Curtis, makers of Stop-Et deodorants, flowing cream, spray, and stick, Suave hairdressing, and End and Dandruff Treatment shampoo. Now let's all play What's My Line?
And now let's meet our award-winning What's My Line panel. First, the delightful star of stage and television, Miss Arlene Francis.
And now, by popular demand, especially from me, Martin Gabel.
On my left, a real cool Wynter, Miss Donna Wynter.
Thank you, Martin. And thank you all for inviting me back tonight. And now a gentleman who heads every feminine list of the man we would most like to take home with us, Mr. Bennett, Cerf.
And now just back from a round-the-world trip that was nothing short of triumphal. And mighty glad we are to have him riding herd on us again, Mr. John Charles Daly.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and Bennett and panel. Welcome everybody to What's My Line, including the panel, although you might question the kind of welcome a bit later, because we have some very interesting occupations, and I might add some difficult ones. We'll also have a famous mystery guest before the panel a little bit later in the show, and we'll meet our first challenger in just 1 minute. And now I forgot to tell you, panel, by way of small celebration for my return, you know those blindfolds? You don't have to put them on. All right, let's see what you can do with a challenger. Will our first challenger come out and sign in, please? Isabel Brewer. That's right. Is it Miss or Mrs. Brewer?
Mrs.
Mrs. Brewer, and where are you from, Mrs. Brewer?
I'm from New York City.
You are? Oh, well, that's wonderful. New York City. Born here?
No.
Not
born in England.
Born in England, but you live in New York now.
Yes.
Well, it's nice to have you become a citizen of the metropolis. Mrs. Brewer, the panel. Mrs. Brewer, now will you join me over here, please? Tell me, do you know how we keep score on this program?
Yeah, I think
All
so.
right. If you know how we keep score, I think what we ought to do next is let the people at home who are watching and our friends who've joined us in the audience know exactly what your line is. The usual bit of help. Mrs. Brewer is self-employed. With that, let's begin the general questioning with Bennett, Cerf.
Mrs. Brewer, is there a product involved in what you do?
No.
No, that's 1 down and 9 to go. And Miss Francis.
Do men and women benefit from your services, Mrs. Brewer?
Yes or no?
Not yes or no. Of course they do. Considering that the area by which or in which humans can benefit is very large, I think
Yes.
that we can say that it would encompass the area of...
He's back.
He's back. Well, Mrs. Brewer, do they come to you for your services?
Yes.
Do you have what might loosely be called a shop or store of some kind?
No.
That's 2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Gabel.
You improve their minds, Mrs. Brewer.
3 down and 7 to go, Miss Wynter.
Do you touch them?
Arriba?
Do you touch these people in any way?
No.
That makes it 4 down and 6 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Well, you don't touch them, Mrs. Brewer, and you don't improve their minds. Would you say that they are any happier when they leave you?
Oh, could be.
Would you possibly serve them anything that would make them happier?
I think No, you don't know what to say about that. I was hoping you would know what to say about that, and I wouldn't have to make it. I think, Bennett, that considering the specific verb used, we'll give you a no, and we'll fight about it later. That's 5 down and 5 to go, Miss Francis.
Well, if there's no product involved, I can't understand what she might possibly serve them. But do you talk to them?
Sometimes.
Do they come to you for a specific thing to be done?
No.
No, wait a minute. Small conference. I think Miss Brewer would agree that we should, in fairness, say that you could have an affirmative answer to that question.
Is there any way in which you advise or help them?
Advise or help them? It's a large area, isn't it, Miss Brewer? So we'll give a no. That makes it 6 down and 4 to go. Mr.
Can't
Gabel.
imagine why they go.
Do you in any way,
You want to go on a
is
trip
there
with me,
anything
Martin?
spiritual in your services to these people?
Spiritual?
Yes.
No.
That makes it 7 down and 3 to go, Miss Wynter.
Dear, this is awfully difficult. Do you need special training for your work?
Yes.
I would say of a character. Now, don't be misled. We do have as a basic term of reference here special training, meaning usually some area of graduate training. But there is special training necessary to do what Mrs. Brewer does.
Are your,
Did you have it? Good for you.
are your services solicited? I mean, I mean, do they want to come to you for this thing that you do for them, or is it something they're obliged to do?
Oh, is it something that they're
confusing
obliged
myself
to
at this
do to
point.
come and take advantage of the service?
Yes.
That makes it 8 down and 2 to go. Thank you, Miss Wynter. Mr. Cerf?
They are not obliged to come, that means.
That's right.
Mrs. Brewer, when they come to you, are you dressed in ordinary day clothes?
Sometimes, and sometimes not.
Sometimes and sometimes not. Very helpful you are. Well, when you're not dressed in ordinary day clothes, would you be dressed possibly in evening clothes?
Yes.
Do you have any connection whatever with the entertainment world?
Yes.
Well, there is, have you any connection whatever with music?
Well, I don't play an instrument, if that's...
No,
Well, that's narrow, isn't it?
Yes.
No, you mustn't give away information. Actually, there is a connection with music, yes.
Would you be somehow or other associated with the dance?
Yes.
Don't tell me you're a hula dancer.
No, hula
You're
dance.
not a hula dancer.
But, Bennett, I think you're pretty close. What I'm going to do is to throw them over just because Mrs. Brewer has been such a good contestant. But you were very close, I think close enough to be declared right. Mrs. Brewer does nightclub song and dance act. Mrs. Brewer very properly is known as Grandma Darling when she does her act. And I think she's been a darling here with us tonight. Thank you.
76.
You want me to tell you
Yes,
your age?
yes,
You
why not?
sure? Mrs. Brewer wants me to tell you how old she is.
38.
76 is right. Thank you and congratulations. Will you say goodnight to the family? And a very good beginning. All right, panel, let's see what you can do with the second challenger. Will you come in and sign in, please? Don Rose, right? Mr. Rose, where are you from?
Waldwick, New Jersey.
Walwick?
Yes, sir.
Walwick, New Jersey. Where's that? Across the road?
It's up above Hohokus in Ridgewood.
Above Hohokus. Oh, I've been wanting to say Hohokus on a television show for nearly 10 years. Hohokus, huh? Well, Mr. Rose, the panel. Panel, Mr. Rose, will you join me over here, please, sir? Do you know how we keep score, Mr. Rose?
Yes, I do.
Fine, then let's let the people at home and those who've joined us in the theater know what your line is. Mr. Rose is salaried, and let's begin the general questioning with Arlene Francis.
Mr. Rose, are you in any way associated with the sports world?
Yes, I am.
May I rule out your being a jockey?
Yes, that's right.
Is the sport that you are associated with an outdoor sport?
Yes.
Is it played, is there a ball used in the sport?
A ball used in the sport?
That's what I said, John. I'm stuck with it.
No, there isn't.
One
isn't a
down,
ball
and 9 to go, Mr. Gabel.
Is there an animal involved in the sport?
No.
2 down and 8 to
Well.
go, Miss Wynter.
Oh, dear. Could I do what you do?
Well, I must say it would make a wonderful picture, but I don't think you could. Miss Wynter wonders if she could do what you do. And it is not beyond the realm of possibility.
Well, then you won't give me a no, will you, Mr.
But
Bennett?
it's so highly improbable, I'll give you a no.
Oh,
that
no.
makes it 3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mr. Rose, does the sport in which you engage require genuine physical dexterity?
Yes, it does.
Do you do it for money,
Salaried.
salary?
Yes.
Do people sit watching you while you do it?
Sometimes they can if they want to.
Could you perform this dexterous feat in a carnival or circus?
No, I don't.
That makes it 4 down and 6 to go, Miss Francis.
Now, you say sometimes they watch you, hmm?
Sometimes they sit down to watch.
Sometimes they sit down to watch him, they never stand up to watch him?
No, it's just sometimes they sit down.
I see, all right.
They don't watch me.
Do you travel around to
Now,
do this?
actually, also, Mr. Rose has been nice enough to point out so you don't get in error here. Not to watch him, but the sport. Some people sit down to watch the sport. Others
Quite.
stand on their heads. You know, it's a fine.
Is there some form of locomotion involved in this sport?
There certainly is.
Does it go fast?
Depends on what you think is fast. I'd say yes.
I have a feeling you know. Does the means of locomotion have wheels?
That's a hard one to answer.
I could explain this to you, and I will later if you can give me the better part of an evening. But right now, we'll just say 5 down and 5 to go. No.
Does your means of locomotion locomote in its main action without wheels?
Oh.
Does it sometimes fly through the air?
No.
6 down and 4 to go, Miss Wynter.
Yes, to do with water.
Yes.
Yes. Well, you are.
No, certainly not.
Yeah? Maybe he is. Mr. Cerf suggests you might be involved with water skis.
Water skis.
No.
No. That makes it 7 down and 3 to go, Mr. Cerf.
But there is a boat involved in what you do.
That's right.
Is it a speedboat of some sort?
A speedboat.
Yes.
You mean by that one of these things that surges up out of the water as you
I
apply
mean
the
a
throttle?
speedboat.
Well, that makes it 8 down and 2 to go, Miss Francis.
Now, look here. Can I rule out a ferry? Because we know that doesn't go very far.
I think.
You want no, wait a minute. Don't give anything away. Do you want to ask a question about a ferry?
We haven't got an awful lot of time, John. I think you ought to be terribly decent about this. If it's a ferry, just say yes or no. Do you have anything to do with transporting other people in this boat?
In a manner of speaking, yes.
Are they passengers that pay?
That makes it 9 down and 1 to go, Mr. Gabel.
You mean to say that this gentleman gets a salary for transporting passengers who don't pay?
Well, I would say this, Barton, that he has something to do with the transportation of passengers, if they can be so described, without pay, while he has himself a salary, yes.
In that case, I throw up my hand, John.
All right, that makes it 10 down and no more to go, and you meet Mr. Don Rose, who is the head coach of the Columbia University crew.
wheels on the Columbia crew.
We said there was no wheels?
Well, you kind
said
of
sometimes.
No, actually, the issue on wheels was that they're on rolling seats that do have little wheels. That the seats go back and forth as they stroke. But
Go back to Bangkok.
I may go on strike if I'm abused like this any further. But in the meantime, we'll meet tonight's mystery guest in just a moment. First, here is a word from our alternate sponsor. We come to the special feature of our program, the appearance of our mystery celebrity, for which I ask my friends on the panel to blindfold themselves. Blindfolds all in place, panel?
Yes, sir.
Good. Will you come in, mystery challenger, and sign in, please? All right, panel, as you know, in the case of our mystery challenger, we go to a different form of questioning. You will ask one question at a time, in turn, moving clockwise, and let's begin with Miss Dana Wynter.
Well, by the applause, you must be a much-loved person. Are you a lady? Oh.
Sir?
Are you a lady who occasionally flickers upon the motion picture screen?
Miss Francis?
Do you also appear in the theater?
Mr. Gabel?
Are you now appearing in the theater?
One down and 9 to go, Miss Wynter.
Do you appear frequently on television?
That was a yes. Mr. Cerf?
Have you ever graced my home with your presence?
Have you ever graced Mr. Cerf's home with your presence? That's 2 down and 8 to go, Miss Francis.
I have a feeling you must be a comedienne, are you? No?
Yes.
Yes,
I think.
it could be. I don't know what I am yet. A comedian, but not a singer, is the answer.
Mr. Gabel?
Your principal profession is the motion pictures?
The principal profession is not the motion picture. Miss Wynter, please. That's 3 down and 7 to go.
I'm asking this for a reason. Are you an American lady? Eh?
4 down and 6
What was
to
that,
go.
yes or no?
No, you got a no on that. 4 down and 6 to go.
She is a lady, of course.
Yes.
Despite all evidence to the contrary, have you ever appeared in a musical show?
I'll leave that standing in midair because the answer is not in the United States, but elsewhere, right?
That's right.
That's right. All right.
We'll leave it that way then, shall we?
All right. Miss Francis?
I'm wondering, are you a very famous English comedienne who has had great success in this country?
Name? Yeah, the question is to be answered affirmatively, of course.
Oh.
Who do you think it is?
I'm torn between B. Lilly and Gracie Fields.
Take your choice.
Gracie Fields.
Gracie Fields.
Gracie Fields. Presently in the movies, Martin, as you know, around the world in 80 days, but I think we'll all agree that
I
is not
quite agree.
the principal area
I yield.
of Fields' activity.
That was a marvelous performance. I wish we could have seen it.
It was loads of fun. I wish you could have seen
We're
it,
here
too.
to serve our audience.
Where is your aspidistra tree?
Well, I left it behind because it's the biggest one in the world, the biggest aspidistra.
Why are you here, Miss Fields, on this occasion?
Well, I've just been here for about 2 months. I've got rather in the acting. I'm legitimate at last. I've been playing in straight plays.
Oh, wonderful.
I enjoy it, too.
One of the world's best known and justly famed comedians, but more than that, one of the best loved performers in the world.
Oh, bless you.
Thank you very much for being our
Thank you.
guest. contestant after this word from our sponsor. All right, panel, you've had a very good evening so far. Let's see what you can do with another contestant. Will you come in and sign in, please? Marie Worthington, is that right? Mrs. Worthington, and where are you from?
Suburbs of Philadelphia.
The suburbs of Philadelphia. Oh, that's a long, big area you live in.
Well, it's Elkins Park.
Elkins Park. Mrs. Worthington, the panel. Mrs. Worthington, will you join me here? You know how we keep score?
Yes.
All right, fine. In that event, we'll let the folks at home and those in the theater know exactly what your line is. Mrs. Worthington is salaried, and we'll begin the general questioning with Martin Gabel.
Mrs. Worthington, as a man who also comes from the suburbs of Philadelphia, I'm a suitable person to ask an opening question. You look like a very sturdy woman, Mrs. Worthington. Are you in sports?
No.
1 down and 9 to go, Miss Wynter.
She's a very stylish-looking lady. Do you deal with services?
Yes.
Rather than product? Do you deal with human beings?
Sometimes.
Oh. Well, that got a laugh.
Plot thickens.
Do you deal with human beings and animals, say?
Yes.
Both or either or? One isn't allowed that kind of question, eh, John?
Well, so you got your answer. You got away with it.
I got away.
Keep running.
Both. And not to do with the entertainment business. Do people come to you for this service?
No.
That's 2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mrs. Worthington, the animals that you have dealings with, could they be considered domestic animals?
Yes.
Would they be found on a quiet farm around Doylestown or Bucks County?
They could be.
They could be. Do people ever eat any parts of them?
3 down and 7 to go. Miss Francis.
You've been eating that Asiatic food, John. Pull yourself together.
No parts at all, huh? They eat everything. Has this animal got legs?
Yes.
Is it a small animal?
Sometimes.
Are they different shapes and sizes, these animals?
Yes.
Are they something you wouldn't like to have around the house?
Oh, no.
That makes it 4 down and 6 to go, Mr. Gabel. You
Are they
have 1
dogs?
minute. Beg your pardon?
Are they dogs?
Yes.
Do you train them?
No.
That makes it 5 down and 5 to go, Miss Wynter.
Oh, dear, there goes my question.
I'm sorry. Ask it anyway. That's what I did.
Let's be mad. You don't train them. Do you exhibit them? Do you show them?
No.
6 down and 4 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Do you treat them in any way?
No.
7 down and 3 to go, Miss Francis.
That rules out a lady doctor. You're not a...
Yes, it does.
Do you make anything for them?
No.
8 down and 2 to go, Mr. Gabel. You want to try 1 question?
Do you have huge kennels in your work?
Yes.
Stalling. I pass.
Time has run out.
Fire dog.
Dog catcher. So simple. Township. And thank you very much, ma'am, for being an
Thank you
interesting
very
guest.
much.
You've nearly puzzled the panel all over. And now, until next week, this is John Daly saying good night, Miss Arlene Francis.
Good night, and it's lovely to have you back, John. And I would just like to take 1 second to remind everyone that this is Mental Health Week, and I hope that everyone watching will do whatever they can to support this very important national foundation. And good night to you, Martin, who needs no help.
Good night, Arlene. Thank you, Martin. Good night, Donna.
Good night, Martin. And I wish I could be going to Toronto with you, Bennett, but good night.
I wish so, too. Good night, John.
Phyllis, they're joking.
You're going to Toronto? You're going to be in Constitution Hall next Friday, and you're going to Toronto?
Miss
Behave
America
yourself.
in between.
Oh, you're going to Toronto and behave yourself. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us on What's My Line?
If you'd like to attend our broadcast and see the panel and our guests in person, write for tickets to What's My Line, CBS Television, 485 Madison Avenue, New York, 22, New York. Transportation for contestants on What's My Line is arranged by American Airlines. What's My Line is a Mark Goodson, Bill Todman production in association with the CBS Television Network.